Hey everyone, welcome back to the FloTrack podcast, FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com. I'm Kevin. He's Gordon. You can find the show on FloTrack.org/FloTrack podcast or on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. Hello, Gordon. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Another day in the books, another pod coming up. I'm looking forward to this one because seeing what happened yesterday on the track at first was like, ooh, this is amazing. And then when you dive a little more deeper into the results, you think this is hilarious because I can't believe this is what track and field is doing in 2020, that Nike athletes are flying across the country in the middle of a pandemic to jog 250 meters, 300 meters, 150 meters, 60 meters, to jog slower
All
than
of
what
it.
I could do in a 300. LaShawn Merritt ran a 53 second 300. And at first I was like, maybe I'm not in shape. That's a 70. That's a 70-second pace 400. That's what LaShawn Merritt, one of the greatest 400-meter runners of our time in the U.S., flew across the country on someone paid for it. I'm not sure who paid for it. Did he pay for it? Nike paid for it? Did Nike give him money to go jog a 53-second 300? I don't know, but we can talk about it. I'll
Let's talk
let
about
you
that guy.
start it off.
No,
Okay.
no.
Well,
Let's start. We'll,
should we
we'll
start
work
about the
backwards.
positive?
No, no,
Okay.
no, no. Let's start with the ridiculous. Let's start with the ridiculous, and
Okay.
then go backwards and work to the positive because this was truly astounding here. The first I saw of it was PJ Vizel posted on Twitter, and he said, "Hey, if you're wondering why there's all these crazy slow times from this meet in Texas, it's because Nike athletes need to hit a minimum threshold of races in a year. So a lot of them just went to this meet and ran everything." And I said, "Well, how slowly did they actually run?" And then I looked at the results and I saw, yes, 53-second 300s on there. I saw 250-meter times, of which case I don't even know what a 250-meter time is. Like, what is a good 250-meter time? I saw people entered in 4 or 5 events. I don't understand. Isn't the whole point of having a minimum threshold of races, meaning they want you appearing in meets so that way you generate publicity to you and the company you represent? What is the purpose of doing this if you're going to fly out to the middle of Texas in a meet that nobody knows about and you're going to jog 5 times? Who does that benefit? I don't understand this at all.
Well, I just don't understand that there's not a single person in this 1,000-person company, 1,000+ people. I don't know how many people work for Nike, but how many people are in the Nike department that deal with the contracts that these athletes have? I'm sure it's like a couple people. Maybe one person is probably in charge of all the Nike U.S. contracts, and I'm sure someone could have sent an email. Hey guys, I know this is a weird ass clause, but because there literally are no meets, you guys are good. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe instead you have to run 10, you have to run 3. Go find a legit meet and go run that.
Yeah.
You know, is I mean, this is very Nike of Nike to do because I mean they do this a lot of time with Prefontaine, where there's times when Nike athletes run Prefontaine injured because they have to show up to
Mm-hmm.
Prefontaine, the Nike meet, in order to make sure they don't mess with their contract. A lot of not just Nike, but a lot of a lot of uh,
Companies.
companies force these pro athletes to compete at USA's on off years, right?
Yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see a lot of time during off years, they all run the first round and then they're like done. It's
Mm-hmm.
because they have to do it for their contract. And I
Yeah.
get the spirit of Nike trying to tell your athletes, hey, you can't just take our money and sit on your ass all year long and not do anything. You need to compete. And that's the purpose of the rule. But I feel like there's times like once every 100 years where there's a pandemic where you can kind of change the rules. Maybe we need to
Yeah.
update the little clause in case of there being no sports. You don't need to
Yeah.
you don't need to do this.
Was the contract written in with a typewriter? Is that why they couldn't go back and edit it and throw in an addendum, throw in an amendment, do something that says, "Hey, you don't need to actually do this," because all it does is make them look silly. It puts the athletes in a weird position because, as we know, right, track and field athletes, they're a resourceful group. They're an industrious group. They know exactly how to budget their energy by the time they're professionals, and they know exactly what to spend their time on and what not to spend their time on and how to prioritize it. So if they know that this is not a serious endeavor, they're going to do what most of the athletes did yesterday, which is go out to the middle of Texas and run 4 or 5 events and jog through all of it. I want to know how this thing came together. Who's the one who spotted it or knew about it in the contract and said, "Hey, everybody, we're going to meet in Fort Worth, Texas on July 20th, and you're going to knock out half your races." I know there's another meet coming up on Thursday at Prairie View, which is also in Texas. There's some odd events there too. So I wonder if they're doing 5 on Monday and then knocking out the other 5 on Thursday, and then they're good for the year. And that's it. Are they if they're holding them to the race number stipulations of their contract, are they also holding them to the times? Right? Because a lot of people have reduction clauses in their contracts related to these things. I mean, this is it's almost beyond belief that this would actually be something that happens within the realm of professional sports in 2020.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if Nike contracts have like time reductions. Do they? I thought it was always just like team reductions or like qualifying. Like
all
performance.
like rankings, right? Yeah, you got up, whatever. But I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Well, also Nike's probably in a weird pickle. I like saying the word in a pickle because I'm sure there's a lot of athletes that Nike wants to drop after this year because, you know, they always have more than they need, right? And there's always cream that rises to the top and former cream that is now sour that you don't want to pay for anymore, right?
Very strange wording there. Go ahead.
There's always athletes who lose sponsorships because of just they're not as elite as they were when they first signed the contract. So I'm sure Nike's probably always trying to save money, especially right now, right? They're not selling as many shoes because there's no shoes to sell. Maybe they're looking. How does Nike drop an athlete when there's no season for them to justify dropping them, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm sure there's like that weird element too. I'm not trying to be a Nike apologist, but I'm sure there was probably like, I'll make up a number, 20 athletes that they knew after the Olympic trials to be like, all right, Olympic trials happened. We knew you guys weren't going to improve or keep your status level. You're done now, right? But now they don't have that. They got to like pay for them through the entire fall and through the entire, winter.
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know.
Well, no, why you could still drop them if they're sticking to the letter of the contract in the 10 races a year. They're probably sticking to the letter of the contract if it expires in 2020, it expires in 2020. But this doesn't help you either way. Having them go run this meet, it doesn't help the athlete, doesn't help the sponsor at all either. I do want to give a shout out. Michael Cherry wins that 250, which is awesome. And for the women, Kyra Jefferson, the AP Ranch High Performance Invite number 4 250 meter champions. That's amazing.
Was it a meet record? I think it was a meet record, right?
It says invite number 4, so I don't have the times, Gordon, of AP Ranch High Performance Invites 1, 2, and 3. So I know, there's a lot of stat nerds out there in the track and field world. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. Women's side of things, though, you had Brianna McNeil. She ran the fastest 150 in history, 16:41. So I was like, oh, wow. And I was looking at these results, Gordon, when I first looked at them, I thought, oh, okay. Man, she ran faster than a lot of some big names here. But then I read afterwards about how people were jogging it. Of course, that brings us to the 100, where there were at least a few people. Oh, go ahead.
Before we get to the 100, there's all the ridiculousness of the meet was not just the random people. I mean, it's good. Even though there was ridiculousness, there's still like star performers. Like we'll talk about Norman later. But like, you see Corey Carter's Instagram?
I did see JoJo's post of Corey Carter's Instagram. She wore a different outfit for every single event. That's awesome. Lean into it. I love it.
But that's the thing. Everyone at that meet was leaning into it. It was like a giant joke meet for all these people, which is like they all were embracing the ridiculousness of it, right? They weren't even trying to hide it. At least, I mean, this happens in our sport a lot. Iona, do Do you know what Iona does every year in December and in like January? Their entire cross country team does like a 60. They throw the shot put, they do a triple jump. They do that because they need to create a meet in order for have like a minimum meet count to meet NCAA regulations. So
Okay.
and Iona doesn't have the ability to like have shot putters on their roster, so they need to create a field. So they have their cross country team basically do a decathlon indoors in order to count it as an official NCAA meet because you need to have a certain number of meets in order to like start practice. Everyone needs to have that December meet so they can start training early. It
Yeah.
reminds me of that, of like these weird rules where no one wants to really put a like none of these athletes want to run 10 hard races, so they're going to do 10 jogs in a 3-day period. I just think it's
Well,
our sport
not
is just
Michael Cherry.
ridiculous.
I'm digging into Michael Cherry's performance. I think even though Norman runs 986, Cherry's the MVP because he also won the 300 by 6 seconds. He ran 33.86, so he won the 300 and the 250. In every one of these events, there's like one person it looks like, and I didn't see it. The only video I saw was from Michael Norman's race. Uh, Outside the 100, it seems like everybody, at least one person in each event, took it serious and ended up winning by a whole bunch of time. And then like he beat LaShawn Merritt by 20 seconds in the 300.
It's a lot. I also think it's funny,
Yeah.
like looking at some of the results, and like some of them are like kind of close, right? Like Justin Gatlin wins Heat 2 of the 300, but like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Rye Benjamin was kind of close behind him, right? There was like he runs 42 seconds, but then the rest of the field runs 43. So was there like a little bit of a surge in the final 15 meters for Gatlin? Is like
Yeah.
I gotta get this dub.
McNeil also won the 60 too, so she doubled up as well too. What's the difference though? If you're LaShawn Merritt, what's the difference between running a 53 for a 300 and a 43 for a 300? I just
Comic
assumed his
value of
jog
it.
was 43. Yeah, like he
The
wanted to
comic
make
value.
it very clear. Yeah, he wanted to make it so clear. I'm not trying at all because I'm gonna run a 53. No one will ever mistake this for a real effort here. Men's 60, yeah, Gatlin did get the win, 6.84 for Gatlin in the men's 60. It's not a jog. It's not a jog.
Are there any
Merritt
marks
ran
that
that one in
like
806.
are there any marks that look like they tried and you're like I'm trying to find someone who like looks has a mark that's like you kind of put a little bit of an effort in that one, but you didn't win. Like who would have that? I'm trying to
The
find.
win, well, no, you see, nobody in the women's 100. No one broke. Oh, that's not true. 11:56 was the fastest time. Sha'Carri Richardson ran 11:56 with a plus 2.7. So she was jogging. I want to know everything about this meet. I want to do an oral history on this meet. I think this is my new project for the next 3 months. Like this is fascinating to me. It was only a couple hours away from us in Texas. I regret not getting in the car and driving down there because I want to know what they were talking about between events. I want to know the thought process between the 53-second 300 or the 43-second 400. And I also want to know what was going on in Michael Norman's head when he's like, yes, this is my opportunity. Everybody else is treating this as a joke, and I'm going to run a historic 9.86, which makes me the second person ever to be in the 10, 20, 44 club. So that was the headline, right? We saw that time first before we discovered all the shenanigans that were going underneath the surface. But 986 for Norman, even under these strange circumstances, he got something out of it. He ran a bunch of events,
Yeah.
but he got a 986, his first 100 in 4 years.
Talk about how he's in that sub 10, sub 20, sub 44 club, one of two, him and Wade Van Niekerk. If you go
Mhm.
another second higher to make it a sub 45 club, to kind of you include two more people, that means you get to include Tyson Gay and Calvin Smith.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like one thing I was trying to figure out is like how do you like decide who is the best 1 through 4, right? Because Usain Bolt's run like a 45-second PR, right? And then Michael Johnson, I think, is run like 10-1 or 10-0. or something like that in the 100.
Mhm.
So like,
Yeah.
there's different ways you kind of can rate the who is truly has the greatest range. But dude, 986 is not just like a that's like a good time. It's like 986 is a time where like you could just call yourself a 100-meter runner and be like,
Yeah.
that's a Christian Coleman time. Like that's what that
Yeah.
is. That,
Yeah.
that's not a
And
time you
what
run
we
when you're training in the 400 meters.
Yeah. He's good at debuts. We know that. He's good at opening his season. That's the way he did last year. Now, last year that was in April. This year,
Yeah,
opening the season at the AP Ranch Invite number 4, where in the middle of July, a bit different circumstance there. But you run 19.7, you're gonna be really good in the 100, and he just hasn't done it in 4 years.
that's good.
I wasn't
That's true.
altogether surprised by the time, just because how fast he is at 200. It was more surprising to me to find out, man, we never really even asked what Michael Norman's 100 PR was. We never really inquired about it because he never ran it at in a big meet when we were watching. You have to go back to high school when he was really running the event. So I like this stat that you brought up too. I'll mention it here too. Male athletes with a top 20 all-time mark in 3 different Olympic events: Bekele, Gebre Selassie, Carl Lewis, and now Michael Norman. That's a cool stat.
That's a good club too. That's like
Um,
3 all-time greats you're involved with, and you haven't even hit the pinnacle of your career yet, and you're already in that
mhm,
category.
yeah. What I want to see before people go crazy about Norman running the 100, which I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to stick to his 400 plan and then maybe run the 200 depending on his availability and schedule. I would love to see him though in a Diamond League 100 at least once. I
Yeah.
would love to see him in that sort of event just to see if he can do it again in a higher pressure situation. Not to say that the AP Ranch invite number 4 wasn't high stakes, high pressure with everything on the line. You literally had to check a box to say that you ran. It's like going to a meeting for work and you sign in your name at the front and then you go and you sit in the back. I would love to see him do it in a race with Lyles, right? With Coleman, with another big gun. His teammate, though, his training partner, Ry Benjamin, you're going to have to create a club for him because for a 400-meter hurdler to run 10.0, that's pretty good, too.
Yeah, he's probably the only one who's ever done that. I even bothered looking up. I mean, not many people run as fast as he does in the 400 hurdles anyway, let alone have a second event. But Ryan Norman. It's like putting
Well,
them
you
together.
created a super track athlete.
Ryan Benjamin, he kind of doesn't. He kind of gets the second fiddle a lot because his event isn't as marquee, and his training partner is Michael Norman, who is the star of the 400. But Ryan Benjamin, man, I think if you just if you took away the 400 hurdles and he just focused solely on the 400,
Yeah.
maybe Ryan Benjamin is competing there with Michael Norman as the best 400-meter runner in the nation with Fred Curley. I mean, Ryan Benjamin had the
Yeah.
best like 4x4 split at USC when they ran the US indoor record, I
Mm.
believe. Wasn't he
Yeah.
the one with the best split? Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, Ryan Benjamin,
44.3,
man.
44.3, 19.9. He also ran 20.3 indoors for a 200, which is really good. Now a 10.03, and of course his 46.98 400-meter hurdles. Yeah, there's very few people who you could take away their primary event and they would still be world class in something else, especially when that primary event is a hurdle event, something that requires technical expertise. And Benjamin is one of those people.
Yo, check this out. Talked about before we
Mm.
started the pod. Could the U.S. put together 4 guys who could win the Olympic 4x1 and 4x4 in the same meet? I think they could.
Yes. Yes. I think you
And
go
so
Holloway,
who are Holloway? Okay.
obviously Lyles now, obviously Norman, and then Benjamin. If 10.03 is your slowest guy in a 4x1, you're going to be good as a relay team. We get used to looking at this through the lens of the United States, but outside of the United States, how many people have 4 people with under 10-second personal bests on the line in the relays? Jamaica did for many, many years, but that's changing. So I think the U.S. would do it. And then in the 4x4, obviously, Benjamin was on the team last year.
And Norman was on the team.
Well, no, Norman got hurt, but he would have been on the team.
But yeah.
Holloway, we've seen it at Florida, what he can do.
Yeah,
and
he
then,
split 43-7 at Florida. So if you can split 43-7, you're good.
Here and then yes, Lyles, of course, we saw that 300-meter time trial. He ran 400s in high school. And listen, if you run, just like what I said, if you run 19.7, you're going to be fast in the 100 just by default. And if you run 19.5, you're going to be fast in the 400 if you try and you put a little bit towards it. What's it going to take, though, to get Grant Holloway on these relays? I think he's going to actually have to run some open ones and some open fours to get on these relays.
I don't think, I think he mentioned it. It's always political because whoever's the relay coach, it's all about like, hey, no, this is, there's like legacy to it. Once you're like a vet, they're like, you're not going to like take away a vet's spot in that top 6 for a new guy, right? I think it would take a big change. I think you need Gatlin, Rogers to kind of retire to open up those 2 spots for there to be the new blood of people coming in for, a Grant Holloway to come in for, Holloway,
Who's coaching the Olympic team? Who's coaching the Olympic team next year?
I don't know who is. Oh,
Mike Holloway.
Hey.
I don't know if he's in charge of the relays. But I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, because let's go through again these 4. You have Michael Norman, who's a 986, 4306 split. So that guy, 100% is going to be on both teams if we could do this way. Grant Holloway, his 650-60 kind of converts to a 999, so a sub 10. His 1298 converts to a 985. I don't think he's a 985 guy, but I think Grant Holloway is a sub 10 guy based on his 60, right? You got to assume that, right?
Well,
so
here's another note about Holloway that I think is important before you move on. When it comes to being on the 4x1, he was a part of very successful relay teams at Florida. How many big races, how many high pressure moments has Grant Holloway not delivered in during your time of watching him?
Yeah.
I can think of none. He always is good when it counts. And there's no bigger moment in terms of pressure if you're a U.S. sprinter than trying to get the stick around in the 4x1 final. Because it's not just your race, it's everybody's race. So I would feel good about putting him on a relay team. Now, I know the Olympics are a bigger stage than he's been on, but NCAA championships in hurdle events, NCAA championships in relay events, the world championships last year, he doesn't blink.
Yeah.
So that would be an argument for Holloway beyond just his PRs. Keep going. Who else is on this team?
So Holloway and Norman, I think, are both shown that they can hit the 1 and the 4 very well. So then Noah Lyles, obviously he can be a great in the 4x1. So his 31.51 300, if you look at the IAAF point tables, that converts to a 44.6. His high school PB in a 4x4 is 45.4. The thing about Noah Lyles is he doesn't like the 400. He says it like, hey, man, don't. There's like a tweet from 2018 saying, take me out of the conversation. I don't want to run no 4x4. So that is a factor. So if Noah Lyles is like, I'm out, then we got to replace Noah's leg in both the 4x1 and 4x4. So who are these people that could replace Noah Lyles' leg? Again, we would have to convince Noah, hey, you're running the 4x4 in this hypothetical Gordon
it's
Kevin
a hypothetical
experiment.
Yeah, this is hypothetical.
But if we do, there's some other contenders out there that I think could fit in. You have Rye Benjamin now, who's a 10.03. He split 43.5. Someone like Kenny Bednarik, who 10.14 in 100. He split 44.7. No, he has run a 44.7 open. So Kenny B, he's a great sub. He's a sub 20, 200 guy. Like you said, if you can run sub 20, you should be able to go up and down and put together elite marks. Coleman has run a 44.8 in college, so he could put on. You could put him in a 4x4, and then Matthew Bowling, right? Let's think about that. Matthew Bowling, he's run a wind aided sub 10. He's run 10-11.
He's got range,
and he has the range. He split. Everyone remembers his 4x4 at Texas as a senior. At Texas. At Texas State as a senior, he's run 44.7 split. You could imagine Bowling in 2 years. Bowling could be a versatile guy the way Grant Holloway became by the time Grant Holloway graduated school. So I think 7 guys, Norman, Lyles, Holloway, Benjamin, Bednarik, Bowling, and Coleman. You could take any of those 4 and make them run a 4x1 and a 4x4, and they would win gold in both.
It's a good hypothetical. Yeah. Again, this isn't who wants to do it. This is, could they do it? Could they do 4x1 and 4x4 in the same meet and still win? I think the US 4x1 is just beginning to scratch the surface because the handoffs still aren't perfect all the time. And when they are, I think the margin would be much bigger than it has been. In terms of 4x4, if you have Benjamin and a healthy Norman on your 4x4 team, right? You have some margin for error with the other 2 legs. They don't even need to be sub 44 legs for it to work. Yeah, you could have somebody run a 44 mid and you would be fine. Now, would it be the fastest team that the US could put together?
No,
probably not. Right, not.
Curly.
But the experiment here, the debate here is just, could they do both the 4x1 and the 4x4? Just one of many interesting tidbits coming out of the AP Ranch High Performance Invite number 2, 4. What are we on? 2, something like that.
So take out the experiment of the having to do the 4x1 and 4x4. In a world where we're most likely going to be entering with a Coleman-less Olympic 4x1 team, what's your 4x1 team right now? Seeing what Bromella has done, what now Norman just did, and with Coleman now most likely being out, what's your relay leg order right now?
Who I want to be on it or who I think will end up being on it? Like my prediction?
Yeah, prediction.
Prediction.
Prediction. Yeah.
Okay. In Tokyo, which is about a year away, I would say, geez. Well, Lyles is going to anchor. I feel good about that.
Gatlin will be leg 2.
I feel like Gatlin's going to finish in the top 6. He'll be leg 2. Bromell leading off. And then, third, maybe. I think Mike Rogers will find his way into the top 6 as well again too, right? I mean, maybe there's maybe Gillespie will make the squad again and drop his PB a little bit. But I don't know. It's fun to it's fun to talk about Holloway and Norman being on there. But what are the odds of them? Obviously, with Holloway, I think the chance of him being in a 4x4 is greater than a 4x1, just because it's. I feel like people kind of scurry away from the 4x4 a little bit, and that might leave some
there's
openings.
A mixed 4x4, so there's more. There's mixed 4x4, so there's more slots. I just think that, imagine if Holloway goes out and in the spring of 2020 run, he runs like a 9.89 in the 100 at the Florida relays.
He's got to do it though. Yeah.
But imagine he does that, right?
Okay.
And then
I'm imagining.
So he has a 9.89 PR from July of 2020, from April of 2021. Norman's PR is 9.86. And then we're at the Olympic final. And the 4x1 goes, and they lose, and USA is literally running a 4x1 with 2 9.8 guys watching it, who are at the meet, who are healthy, who had just won their individual event in the Olympics. You know, just assume Michael Norman wins the 400 and Holloway wins the 110 hurdles. Do you think that would be do you think USATF would be like, what are we doing here? Why are we not running these 2 9.8 guys?
Yes.
Will anyone in
I
that
think
room talk
no.
about that elephant?
Look, yeah, well, no. If he actually runs a 9.8 in Florida relays, he will be considered. I think that's a whole different conversation. Because listen, do you know how many wind legal marks Grant Holloway has on Tila Stepage's database? Zero. He has zero. He has a windy 10.68 from 2015 from when he was in high school. So he has to run it in a regulation meet. I know he would be great at it, but he actually has to run it. Then I think it becomes a conversation. And then I would seriously think that they would do it. But I don't blame them for not putting a guy on the relay who literally hasn't run the event since 2015. Now he's run 4x1s. That's fine. But you need a bit of an apples to apples comparison of, okay, this is this guy's PR. He is okay, he was on Florida's collegiate record team. That's great. We all understand that. And we know that
And
he'd
the
be good.
60
But you
doesn't
need
count.
to, yeah, and the 60 doesn't count. You need to at least put one down and show where you stack up to everybody else. Oh, you're 2/10 faster than this person or 3/10 faster than that person. That's what Holly needs to do. If he does that at the Florida relays, like you said, then maybe in those early season relay meets, he shows up and he gets on these teams. Then I think it could happen, right? But he's got to put down that mark in the 100 first, which means maybe running one less hurdle race and becoming available for that 4x1. I know this is all very exciting for you because this moves you one step closer to your ultimate goal of having Grant Holloway run every single race in the Olympics. So this would be a big moment for you.
Yes, I'm moving towards that. I mean, he said that he thinks whatever race he does, he could be the best in the world at it. Even in the
Yeah.
1500 and the 5Ks. Like if I was a 5K runner, I'd
Listen,
be the next coming of Mo Farah. That's what he says. I mean, I'm putting words in his
I
mouth,
mean,
but
look, I would love to see it, but I also don't. I feel like they could, if he wants to do it, he could take steps to do it, and then if they still block him, then that's one thing. But anybody who wants to do it, who's not running that event as their main event, needs to lobby, needs to run the event enough, needs to do everything they can to show that they are one of those top 4 people. They can't give any excuse for someone to choose somebody else. Because listen, if I was picking the team, that's one thing. But if a coach is out there and their job is to, okay, I need to make sure we win gold, you're gonna pick people who have run the event that year. And you want to keep the other people on the team happy as well too. Also, they ran pretty fast last year with Coleman, Lyles, Gatlin, and Rogers. Now this is all depending on if Coleman can run next year, but I would think they'd almost want to run that team back if they could, just because they said, okay, it works. Let's not change anything up. Now we don't. Now it's 2 years as opposed to 1 year, so it's a lot different scenario. But yeah, I'm with you. He just actually run the event. Same thing if he wants to get on the 4x4. He run an open 4x4, show up to the Texas relays, get on that USA team, and then lobby. I'm sure he's got you as a megaphone to advocate for this for the next year, but it's not enough to be, hey, I ran this time in college, I'd be good at it. I think track is a sport where you have to continually prove your worth in those events, especially when it's competitive. U.S. relay spots are hard to come by.
and I mean, I guess all he has to do is run one race. Is that all he's got to do? Because Ry Benjamin only ran 2 400s, and he was on the 4x4.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a little different because with the 4x4, again, because it's at the end of the meet, you got fewer bodies there that are available. I mean, the 4x1's at the end of the meet too, but it's a grueling way to end the meet. And also, when someone runs 46.98 in the 400 hurdles, it's easy to be like, okay, they'd be really good in the 100. The 12.98 over 110 hurdle, it's a harder conversion, basically, is what I'm saying. I think people had no problem figuring out that Ry Benjamin would be great in the open 4. But he's got to do it.
Oh, wait.
I'm for it.
Did Dalil Muhammad run an open 4 before she was selected to run the 4x4?
Yeah. I forgot what she
Did?
ran, but she ran a 400 last year. Yeah. She ran 50.6.
Did Sydney run a 400?
50.6. Last, yeah.
She ran one
Actually,
400. So She ran 1. She ran 50.7.
Muhammad ran, yeah, and Muhammad ran 3.
Okay.
And
So,
did they?
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they ran those with the explicit purpose of saying, "Hey, I want to run the 4x4. Here's my mark. Consider me." I'm not sure if that's what they did or if they ran it just as training. But the effect was, "Hey, Muhammad and McLaughlin should be on the 4x4," and
Yeah.
rightfully so. They were on there and they belonged. Also, there's this tendency for the U.S. always wants to. They want to do multiple. They want to almost cycle out their entire team, right? Or at least put 3 new
Yeah.
people in for the final because they want people running fresh, which is what, yeah. So it's like,
and really, they want
if
to give Allison Felix an extra gold. That's what they want to do.
she didn't run it last year, so you can't.
She ran the prelims.
She ran the mixed gender 4x4. I don't think
She got a gold.
Did she run the
for
prelims?
running the prelims.
Did she really run the prelims? Okay. Anyway, but like, so here's the scenario that usually comes up, right? There's one, maybe the third U.S. person doesn't make it out of the semis in the 4x4, and then they just become easier to replace because you don't want to replace 2 finalists. So then you have that person who went out in the semis, you have them run the first round of the 4x4, and then you insert Ry Benjamin, or then you insert somebody else from a different event who's fresher and also who has higher upside because you've just seen this other person. Okay, they made it in the semis. They ran 44.8. Maybe they're a little tired. Not the best option. So that's typically how that goes. So if all it takes is Holloway to run 100 and run a 400 early in the season, he should do that. He should do that if he's interested in it. I know you're interested in it. I know I'm interested in it. It's just a question of, is he interested in it?
Yes. I was I
is.
lost a little bit of you you were talking and the audio stopped on me, so I missed the beginning part of that. But I think
Basically what I was
we,
saying was
yeah.
the third
fine. The people
the
heard
third
you.
no, I want you to hear it again. I want you to hear it again.
Okay.
The third, I'm saying this. You listening? Are you listening? Do you have your
I'm
headphones
listening
on?
now.
It's
First time.
easy to replace somebody who goes out in the semis of the Open 4. It's easy to replace them in the relay, right? Because then you have your Ry Benjamin coming off the bench who just got a medal in a different event, but they're fresher. It's really hard to replace somebody who just made the final of the Open event, right? That's what I'm saying. And it seems like every year, not every year, a lot of times, 2 of the 3 US people make it through to the final, but then that leaves then 2 more spots. So that gives you a little bit of wiggle room to pull from people who either finished 4, 5, or 6 at USA's or from a different event. That's all I'm saying. On the topic of USA's, there will be no USA's this year. So you cannot use that as one of your 10 meets, Gordon, in order to keep your Nike contract. Better get it all done in Texas.
I made a little jab at my fellow comrade in the running media of John Galt Let's Run. He made a tweet about his reaction, like the first time. This is the first time there'll be no USA's since like Ulysses. Oh man, Ulysses. Oh man, it's bad. I don't know how to say his name. Ulysses S. Grant. President Grant. Last time there hasn't been a USA since President Grant. And my reaction was, your reaction to this news is proof that indoor is not a real sport, because we had an indoor national championships, but if you don't have an outdoor, you say you don't have a USA's. So this proves that indoor isn't a real sport, that it's a fake championship, because the reaction of there not being an outdoor championship is what people care about. Not maybe if there's no indoor championship.
Maybe he should have said it's the first time there's been no outdoor championship since Ulysses Grant. 1876.
Yeah, but he didn't say that. He didn't say that, though. He said a USA's championship, which proves that there's no indoor love.
Olympics.
Which I agree with. I mean, there's no indoor Olympics. Great quote.
We do know that. 1876, though, that's a long time. If I would have gotten that way off on a trivia question, I would have thought it was much more recent. But yeah, they decided not to go forward with this meet. I don't know what that means in terms of what athletes are going to do. I don't know anybody who's building their season around it necessarily, because it was going to be in September, if I'm remembering correctly. It would have been maybe a chance for Hayward to make its debut. I don't know if they would have done it at Mount Sac after what happened with the Olympic trials bid. So what's left of the U.S. track season now? What do we have left? Potentially these Sunset Tour meets. There's some one-off mile races. There obviously is what's going on in Oregon with the Bowerman Track Club meets and the Pete Julian organized meets. But there's not much left of a U.S. season at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't. I mean, there's like a couple, like the Music City Distance Carnival, if that's still going on. You have Sunset Tour. You have the time trial meets. But then the rest of the meets are all international. You still have the Diamond League that's starting up in August, and you have the Continental Tour, which is starting up in August. So that's two different international, but none of them are U.S. based. None of them are even close to the U.S. They're all over out in Europe. So, yeah, there's not really going to be a. I mean, let's hope we got to hope the Sunset Tour is that, right? Let's hope that Jesse Williams put together a great field. I saw the schedule. He had some sprint events on there as well, so maybe he'd be able to draw some of these
Got to get your
Nike
10.
athletes.
Got to get your 10.
He did retweet from the from his brand's running account, Michael Norman's 100. So maybe we'll get Michael Norman in a 400 at the Sunset Tour. He's from California, maybe. I mean, I don't know, but that would be great, wouldn't it?
I'm not reporting this. That's a shorter trip than going to Texas to run a 250. Man, going to Texas, the middle of Texas to run a 250 in the summer, that is an interesting thing to explain. I wonder how many athletes are going to go international, and if from the United States, and if they don't, if U.S. athletes really aren't going in any sort of numbers, what that means for the Diamond League. I think we're going to see, because every year there's usually one or two Diamond Leagues that aren't well attended by Americans because maybe the proximity to USA's, and it definitely takes a hit. And we don't know what the travel situation is going to be like for athletes from other countries.
It's going to be great for Alonzo Edward. It's going to be great for Alonzo Edward.
Yeah, he's going to be crushing it. Christophe Lemaitre, come on down. You're going to be getting some wins out there.
Who's the Swiss guy who's always there? There's like some random Swiss guy. Swiss
Alex
sprinter.
Wilson.
Yeah, there you go.
Alex Wilson, yeah. Well, and Swiss women, Kambunji, maybe she gets some wins, racks up some prize money. I don't know what this is going to look like. It's August and September, but then they're going all the way to October too. Right? The beginning of October is going to be the end of this thing. I know Pre got canceled. It was supposed to be in October, but it's a decent amount of meets. I just wonder how many people are going to be really in it, really committed, because it's been so herky-jerky. It's Olympics are coming, go real hard, then stop, then okay, things are picking up again, then stop.
I can see field event athletes will go.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Well, you know who definitely will go is like someone like Christian Taylor, because if he doesn't go, it would look bad because he's the one complaining about the Diamond League dropping his event, right? So if like they put on an event and he decides not to show up, they'll be like, I mean, he's an incredible excuse because there's a pandemic, but I'm sure World Athletics would be like, hey, you're gonna dunk on us for not having your event, but then we put on your event 5 times, you don't show up those 5 times. But so I think Christian Taylor will show up at least.
It's a weird year. Well, what is someone like Mondo? There's only one Mondo. What does Mondo do? Because Mondo was going hard in indoor season. Then he
going hard in the Garden Clashes.
Well, exactly. Then did all that stuff, did the impossible games. But he's been going at a high level now since for 6-7 months now, because he was setting world records at the beginning of the year, back when we thought there was going to be an Olympics this year. Is he going to want to turn it back up and then start going again and then going into an Olympic year? Or is he just basically saying my season's done? I think we're going to see it's going to be a mix between those years when there's like a bunch of Diamond League meets after the major championships or Olympics and everyone's like, wait, why is the season still going on? And a non-championship year when a lot of people just opt out entirely. I think that's what we're going to see. So there could be some stuff. It's going to be really, really hard to parse out until we actually see start lists about what people's goals are with this. Like, what if there's still a freeze, right, on marks from World Athletics, and there's still a freeze on
Yeah.
rankings from World Athletics?
Well,
What's the
we'll be able to
incentive
know.
other
We'll
than your
be
10
able to
races?
know. Yeah, we'll be able to know from this Texas meet when we look up all these top, the Daniel Roberts of this world, Gatlins and Kenny Benerick's and all the Shakari Richardsons and all the women over at Tiana Daniels. I can go on and on. All the Nike athletes, right? We could probably, after this is another meet on Thursday, after that meet, we'll be able to see if all of them have 10 results to their
Yeah.
name in 2020.
Yeah.
We know they're done because there's no reason they're going to run the 10th time. Like, they're running to shut down their season if they run 10.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they run 8 or 9, and that means they're leaving out an opportunity to, like, hey, one more run in September or go to the California meet, Sunset Tour in August. So maybe they're saving one last race. I mean, I don't know though.
Yeah.
I'll be interesting to count up their race totals after this Thursday meet.
Maybe what they're doing is saying, hey, let's just get to 10 as an insurance policy. That way, if something happens with travel, I can still keep my contract and I'll be fine, right? Or if I get injured, then I at least have 10 under my belt. I'm looking at so this is what's on tap for Thursday in terms of events at this meet. 60, 150, 300 meters, 300-meter hurdles, and 500. If LaShawn Merritt is entered in the 300-meter hurdles, just so he can get his 10th race, I think we can assume that he's going to shut it down after that.
Maybe Ryan
What if
Benjamin's going to go
everybody
for
does?
a world record.
Oh,
Try to break up.
Warholm,
What's his name? Warholm's
Warholm's
record.
record? Yeah.
Could be.
What's norm? I mean, this isn't a coincidence, right? That this is in Texas right after a meet that was in Texas a few days ago.
Well, it's also not a coincidence that literally the California Nike athletes and the Florida Nike athletes picked up the phone, called the Texas Nike athletes. Hey, can we meet you guys halfway? Let's do this. And then
Is that what
like,
happened? See, this is good stuff.
I mean, that's
for
what
my oral
happened.
history.
I'm sure the Nike athletes were like, hey, are we going to have a bunch of Florida meets and a bunch of California meets and a bunch of Texas meets? Let's just get this all done in middle of July. And then they're going to go to, I don't know what you do. They're going to go float San Marcos River, and call it a year.
Well, okay. So then the one on July 30th has real events: 100, high hurdles, 200, 400, 400 hurdles, 600, and a long jump and a triple jump. And then there's one on August 6th that has those same events again, except it has an 800 for the men instead of a 600. It looks to me like, yeah, they're just trying to get the silly stuff out of the way. And then if people want to compete on top of that, then they can run fast. But if you're Norman and you're going to run it, what are you going to run after that? You're going to run it. You're going to get a 60 PR. You're going to run a 150 this week, a 300, a 500 maybe. You can do all those, I guess.
They should have, instead of doing these 150s and like 250s, they should have all gone retro and just make it all 100 yards, 200 yards, 400 yards, and they could break all those world records, right? Because I'm sure the records they're trying to break are from like the 1920s. So, hey, take that, bunch of like people who are running barefoot, with with cinder tracks.
Way after Ulysses S. Grant was president.
Yeah, way
too,
after,
as you know.
Ulysses S. Grant.
You did it that time. You did.
I did.
It.
I did. I said it quietly though because I wasn't sure if I did it right. So I kind of just like, let's sneak this in to see if I can have a better speech impediment.
Last
there's a meet going. There's a meet going on tonight, right? Meet going on tonight.
Yes.
Bowerman Track Club, Part 3, The Awakening. That's what we call it.
What?
Part 3, The Awakening. Yeah, you got to add like you have Electric Boogaloo, Deuce Bigelow, like what's it?
Deuce Bigelow, male
Breaking
Gigolo.
2, the Electric Boogaloo. That's called Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. Whatever. You got to give it a name.
Just keep going. Just keep
They're
going,
running a
please.
600. They're running 600s, 1500s, and 4x4s. Literally, this is going to be
Are they trying to get
workout designed as a track meet. Like, that's basically what it is. It's like we're doing a a hard six, like you literally. I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing Jerry was like, all right, today's workout is you guys can do a hard 600, then you're gonna have 30 minutes rest, then half of you are gonna do an easy 800 pace, one of you's gonna do hard 1500, whatever, and then you're gonna do two 400s to cap it off. So he created this weird workout and then called it a meet and called them races. That's all this is. Because
Isn't the 1500 first though?
okay, yeah, I don't know the
According to
order,
the-
but like maybe for some people
Well-
they'll run a 600 of the 1500 to do like a 2x600. I don't know. I'm making things up in my head, but I don't know
Look.
who if it's going to be like are
Shelby's
we
in
going to
the
be seeing
1500.
yeah, but are we going to be seeing 402 1500s or 355 1500s? Are we going to see 339 1500s or 334 1500s? You know, like what are they trying to do?
Well, for the women, you have Houlihan in there. You have Schweizer in
The entire
there.
team's in there. They're
and
all
you-
in everyone.
No, they're not. No, because like Kate Grace isn't in there. And for the men, you're missing the two best 1500 meter runners in the group, which is Centro and Josh Thompson. So you don't have everybody. And what
I think it's a
would
work.
make a splash? Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. At least on the men's side of things, it appears to be that way. And this one was a quicker not a quicker turnaround, but it was, you're coming off the heels of those crazy 5,000s. I thought number 3 would be a little bit of a reset before we really get excited for number 4, even more awakened on the last one. But I don't know. I'm willing to watch it. I'm willing to check it out because they always exceed expectations. And if it turns out to just be a workout, that would be kind of a bummer.
What if I told
But I
you
won't. Okay.
the Bowerman athletes are sponsored by Nike,
And they need 10
who have the
races.
same contract as the other Nike athletes? And then you
Well,
get
then
those
they
10
would-
races. So that's
But
why
they
they're
don't
running a
hit-
4x4. That's why they're running a
they don't-
600.
But they don't hit 10 races that often, do they? Even in regular years? Or does it get
Indoor,
waived if you
probably?
make a... Oh, okay, yeah. Still, they don't race that
Who would
much.
be someone who would be someone that Shelby? Let's say Shelby didn't race a lot, right?
No, look at like Frericks, right? A couple of years ago, didn't race a ton. I'm looking at Mohamed just because it's in the top of mind right now because it was 12:47.
So Shelby ran
now-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, but then if you count in heats, they get to 10.
Yeah,
She did a
but clearly they don't
cross-country race.
care. Why? But clearly they don't care that much about it because that'd be risky. Ahmed did one in 2019. Ahmed did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then he did the rabbiting, or he DNF. So he did exactly 10. I think are there different rules for distance runners than there are for sprinters in the minimum amount of races?
I don't know. But maybe that's why they count rabbited races as races. You're like, oh, a DNF, it's a race.
Yeah, I don't know, but yes, perhaps that's what the situation is. Frericks last year did 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is cutting it awfully close. Oh, and then in
all
28,
around there. Is there anyone that's
I
only
know.
run like maybe Centro?
Well, in
so
20
Centro about to get dropped by Nike because he hasn't run yet.
No, I don't think he needs. I think if you have a gold medal, you can do whatever you want. In 2018, Frericks had 8. In 2017, she had 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You're right. This is suspiciously around 10. I think we're onto something here. It's like,
Well, here's the question. Yeah, I mean, I look at Centro in 2019. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But you could take out the 2 prelim ones. They're right at 10. Because I'm not sure if prelims count.
Maybe you get to. Well, I'm counting it. Woody Kincaid.
Oh wait, no, it's not 12. It's 11 because the 3K is No, it's 10 exactly because the 1500 and the 3K are en route to the mile and the 5K. So Central ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 races. They're all running 10 to 11 races.
In 2019, Woody Kincaid ran 8. He ran 8 in 2019. Maybe what you do is you finish your season, like you go to USA's or you go to Worlds or you go to the Olympics, and then if you're not at 10, you just run the Fifth Avenue Mile. You fill in your schedule until you get to 10. Maybe that's it. Or you run a Thanksgiving Day race or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe
600.
there's some turkey trot. They got turkey trot in there.
600s, 1500s, and 4x4s tonight. Now, distance 4x4s. That's where it's at. Are they doing a 2x2x4 or is it a?
I think it says mixed 4x4. So I think they're just gonna be like, hey, you guys are gonna do a 2x400 with 60 seconds rest. Go.
And it says, and the lane assignments here: 2017 BTC, 2018 BTC, 2015 BTC, and 2016 BTC.
Ooh,
so they're doing it like by
when they join the team.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's when it is. So who would 2018 would be Fisher, right? No, he was 2019, right? Yeah, 2019. So that'd be Schweizer. Schweizer would be 2018, correct? Yeah. McGordy would be 2018 as well too. Okay, well, it's an interesting wrinkle to it.
Wrinkle in time, man. Wrinkle in time.
All right, we'll leave it there.
This is a great pod, man. It's a great pod.
I enjoyed it. FloTrack podcast at gmail.com. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. We learned a lot.
No lows,
have a lot of
except
questions.
for when I can't say a president's name correctly. I don't even bother trying to say that ever again.
Yeah. If anybody knows about the contracts, send us an email, FloTrackPodcast at gmail.com. We will see you guys tomorrow.